sober on Zoom? What?
That is correct.
That's not possible. You're lying.
I'm not lying. You know, when I got out of recovery, there were no in-person meetings because of COVID. And
okay, we're talking about then the spring and summer of 2020. That's when the world was really locked down, when we were spraying doorknobs and putting groceries in the garage for a week. And I remember pulling into parking lots and having friends meet and pull into the parking lot 20 feet away so we at least wave to each other and talk. Did you guys play that game? You know what I'm talking? Instead of going to each other's houses for dinner, we couldn't do that. We'd go in the parking lot of an abandoned, something and get in the bed of our pickup trucks and yell at each other. So that was summer 2020 was the bad lockdown time. When did you get sober?
No, I got sober in the spring of 2020.
Perfect.
So it was just right. They had just called the pandemic. And so I was under lock and key for a while there. I was isolated in rehab for 7 days because of COVID.
Okay, so you did inpatient during pandemic.
Correct.
Inpatient.
Correct. Then Zoom.
Wow. Okay. So did you say 7 days? Because back when I was, it was 28 days inpatient was the routine back in the 90s.
Well, it was a total of 37 days, but I had 7 days in lockdown because you had to get tested and you had to do all that stuff. Plus, I had the hibby-jibbies, so I had to stay in lockdown.
I don't know what that meant. What was going on? You were really messed up. You like really DTs type stuff.
Correct.
Yeah.
Correct.
Did they put you on detox drugs to mellow that out? That's what they did with me.
Very much so. Very much so. Yeah.
Okay, so you got your sobriety date was whatever, spring of 2020. What is it?
My sobriety date is May 29th of 2020.
Boy, that was the right after the world changed. And so when did you start doing Zoom meetings?
Oh, immediately following when I got out, because I didn't know what I become aware of Zoom while I was in rehab. And so, I knew that was my only resort. I mean, for any kind of fellowship. I mean, otherwise, I don't know where the heck I would have been.
Here's a plug. Boozers in Bathrobes is a Zoom meeting that started here at the Friendship Club in Santa Fe, where we're recording today. And it is, I feel like it's the biggest Zoom recovery meeting in the world. It took off like a spaceship immediately. And I think the name helps. I think when you see boozers in bathrobes, you go, well, that's not too threatening. That doesn't sound like a beatdown. Sounds like they got a sense of humor. Sounds kind of silly and accessible. And it's hundreds of people a day. Was that one of your first ones since you were local?
Actually, I did go to that meeting, but truthfully, it was just a little too large for me. I felt a little uncomfortable. And so I found the early birds underground.
Okay, that's hilarious. I got sober in Los Angeles where the in-person meetings can be, and I mean the normal meetings, 100, 200. And to say that you were nervous on Zoom, you're in your damn robe with coffee at your coffee table going, oh, look how many people. Well, that's what we're like when we first get sober. You got over it. We can't shut you up now. So
that's exactly right. I was very shy back then.
What happened?
See, I got sober and I got my confidence back and everything. Recovery's just been a complete plus for me.
Well, my deal was this. The world shut down. I went, what am I going to do? And I went, now we're talking about, for me, they call it Black Friday, the 13th of May, 2020. And I remember it vividly because I lost a job. So what am I going to do for meetings? I went, I think there's such a thing as maybe online recovery meetings. Didn't know the word Zoom. Mm-hmm. And it seems like, Mary, you said that it was within a couple of days that boozers started. Maybe it had a different name for a minute.
Well, what Lou, who's a member of our recovery community, did is he got us up and going on Zoom. I believe that he was responsible for the one that you went to.
Now, you're talking about the Friendship Club in Santa Fe set up a camera,
yes,
and a couple of people attended, or
yes.
how did or they were at their homes?
They were at their homes,
yeah,
but occasional, and it got started. I believe it was the meeting you went to, Franco. Mm-hmm. But that's the power of the community of AA. We knew. A couple things, and I think it's a good time to interject this. The Friendship Club, as we know it now, by the grace of God and a lot of donors and a lot of fundraisers, hard work, people stepping up. 2 weeks before the pandemic hit, we made our last payment on the club to own it outright.
We're in a when you say the club, the physical club, we're in a what began life as a 1950s church. How many square feet?
6,000.
6,000 square feet, 2 stories. But it was beaten down.
Terrible. It was needles laying all over the weeds.
Because it was a methadone clinic. So
yes.
and we're in a neighborhood that's pretty funky sometimes, and so there were needles collecting outside.
Yeah, and it was in foreclosure. So it hadn't been tended to.
Well, buildings die. That's what they say in the real estate game. And how I wasn't in this building at that time.
Yeah.
Was it about a gun, or were the bones good? What was it like?
The structure was sound.
But the plumbing and electrical...
everything had to be regutted.
Yeah.
And so we took on a project that by people's thought process would say impossible. But what we found at the Friendship Club and the recovery community is the impossible takes just a little longer to do.
Okay, yeah. Okay.
And that's...
Well, and unlike, we just had a bathroom renovated for $600. And so... Yeah, you'll find that when lives get saved, people whose lives have been saved will come back and go, I'm in the flooring business. What is it you guys need? And just it's kind of like that last scene in It's a Wonderful Life when Jimmy Stewart's, just about to commit suicide because of what his life's become, and people just come pouring out of the woodwork with money and support and love. You're the richest man in town. So yeah, even though you would think, because people squawk about paying $2 for a cup of coffee, that we're operating from poverty, but we're actually when the alarm bells sounded, people showed up and made this beautiful building happen.
Yeah, and that has been the case of the Friendship Club since it began 45 years ago. This is our 45th anniversary this year.
Amazing. That's the 1970s.
Yes. And 7 people with a vision started the Friendship Club. And you'll find that worldwide.
Sure.
That many meetings are started with 2 or 3 people.
Bill and Bob.
And they grow. Mm-hmm. So if you're listening to the podcast, know that 2 people can create miracles. And they can provide a welcoming space where people want to get sober.
Okay, I want to circle back to this online thing because I had decades sober when the pandemic hit. And so to me, a Zoom meeting was like a Band-Aid. I was like, well, I don't have real meetings anymore, so I'll do what I can. I'll go to these Zoom meetings. I'm in the group of people who actually like them. Not everybody does. I like them. I almost like them immediately, and I still like them. I still go to a couple a week. For those of us who were old timers, when it started to be, we would go to a Zoom meeting and somebody would take a 1-year chip. I'm talking about 2021. They'd take a 1-year chip and go, I've never been to an in-person meeting. I go to 5 Zoom meetings a week. They were called Zoom meetings, and I nearly fainted. I went, oh, this is possible. It never occurred to me. Yeah, go.
Franco's living proof.
A Zoom baby, yeah.
I mean, I knew no different. I didn't know anything about an in-person meeting. As a matter of fact, about a year later, 2, maybe even a year and a half later, I came to my first in-person meeting, nervous as hell heck. But when I walked into the doors of the Friendship Club, it says, welcome home. And how could you not feel comfortable with that? And then I met people from Zoom, and it was just this unconditional love that was just undescribable, and now I'm definitely an in-person meeting person.
Do you still do Zoom, or did that fall off?
No, I do Zoom, and I at least twice a week.
Well, to me, one of the fun things is it's a little bit nebulous. We talk about Boozers and Bathrobes being a meeting from the Friendship Club in Santa Fe, and that's where it began. And the guys who run it have been on the show. Spenny and Barry are our friends, and they have an office here in the building. But where is a Zoom meeting? I don't know. It's in it's ones and zeros out there on the internet somewhere. I got asked to speak at a Zoom meeting, and I said, "Where is it?" Because I didn't know how else to frame the question. They said Panama City, and I'm thinking, you know what? I kind of like Florida. Florida takes a beating in the public perception, but I've always had a great time there, and so I was happy to do that. And I went on and started talking. I said, y'all are in Florida? They're like, no, Panama City, Panama, schmuck. I'm like, oh, mi español es muy malo. But I hung in there and did the deal. But it's fun that I've talked on meetings that are, gosh, the Faroe Islands. Anybody? Come on. All right, geography quiz. You're Americans. You don't know shit about geography. Where are the Faroe Islands?
They're in Venezuela.
They're not. Where are the Faroe Islands?
I was going to say Venezuela.
They're Todd, who's been on the show. Todd C, my hero. He knows these guys. He goes there, went there, and hooked me up with them. The Faroe Islands are. You think we're in the middle of nowhere in New Mexico? How about like 500 miles northwest of Scotland, which puts you kind of towards Greenland, Iceland, somewhere up there. I mean, I'm talking about nowhere, buddy. But, the internet's cool. And so I spoke on a Faroe Islands meeting.
Sherman, and Franco, this might be a good place to interject this. The boozers in the bathrooms, as you said, Barry and Spence, they're from the central office, and they're housed right here in the Friendship Club. I want to give them credit because every morning they have 125 people that tune in where it saves their lives today, and it saved their life. We have people in New Mexico that may not have access to live meetings.
That's right.
And with Zoom, and then Sherman, I'll have you talk about the podcast. With Zoom, people in the remotest areas of New Mexico in the world can tune in to hear about recovery. And Franco, you are a shining star as far as what the Zoom meetings are. You now are the president of the district. You're on the Friendship Club board. And I couldn't even imagine what you do for the recovery community. So I just thank you so much for that.
And he's got great hair, let's face it.
Hey, and the best clothes.
Yeah, I love a snappy dresser.
Oh, man.
So yeah, do you want to talk about how, I'm always happy to talk about the podcast. 9,000 listeners, 50 countries, 600 cities. Most of it is in northern New Mexico, but I couldn't figure out how to promote this podcast because we're a nonprofit. We're not Coca-Cola. I can't just go to the head of advertising and say, give me $1 million budget and I'll put commercials on the Super Bowl. And so we took a flyer. I had a $200 donation for marketing. And I did it, and the results were zero. Nothing burger. Not one person listened to one episode as a result of this little marketing attempt. But I do track the numbers avidly, and I found that we were in 20 countries, and then 30 countries, and then 500 cities, and then on and on. I'm like, how? No, I can't figure out how. And so I tried to look for free ways to market this thing and get the word out. So I Googled, how do I find a recovery podcast? I just Googled the question. And the answer came back. Here's a plug for people I don't know. I don't know these people. But it's called Good Pods. Now, I get unsolicited emails in my personal email account for Goodreads. And basically, the Goodreads is like, oh, if you're looking for a biography to read at the beach this summer, here's 10 that we like, that sort of thing. Well, there's a parallel service called Good Pods. So if you go on there and say, hey, I'm looking for a recovery podcast, Good Pods will recommend it. And guess what? We're on their list. I don't know. Never heard of them. We're on their list. But that's why we are in Japan and Africa and Italy and so on and so on and so on. It's amazing. Over and over and over again. We've got regular listeners all around the world. Most of them are within an hour's drive of where we're sitting, but the other half are around the planet. Yeah, what's up, Mary?
I was just going to say, Sherman, a plug for you. You got this podcast room. He actually took a cleaning room closet that's what?
6x6.
6x6
Yep.
maximum. And turned it into one of the nicest podcast rooms in Santa Fe, if not the only one. And has had over 70 broadcasts from there.
Yep.
People talking about various stages of recovery, various types.
Well, yeah.
But you did it with a small grant that we received.
That's right.
And it's not like, for the people listening, the Friendship Club, we really reach out to people because we need donations, we need memberships, we need grants and so on.
Right.
But you did this with a small amount. We have the top quality.
We got great microphones, great headphones, a great recorder. Full disclosure, we're not using them for this interview because it's a 3-person setup. But our little 2-person little diamond of a studio down the hallway here. It's succeeded beyond my wildest dreams. And here's what happened. I thought it would be kind of like a 12-step meeting for the air, only one-on-one in an interview format. Within a short amount of time, I had a duh moment, which is recovery affects everything. I learned that as a recovering newcomer in 92 by having a sponsor carry me around to restaurants and gas stations and watching how he interacted with the world. And after the waiter would take our order, he was buying me breakfast. Believe me, I was broke as the 10 Commandments. He would buy me breakfast. The waiter would walk away and my sponsor would turn to me and said, here's what just happened there. And I learned to look at the world through the prism of the 12 steps in recovery, which sounds mysterious if you don't know what I'm talking about. And if you do know what I'm talking about, it's a lifetime process. So our top rated episodes are to do with Debtors Anonymous, DEBT, people who are in recovery over money issues. We've got Gamblers Anonymous coming in. We've had, I'm drawing a blank, but we've got a lot of Al-Anon people who've been on the show. Couples in recovery are our top rated. You never know what really is going to strike a chord with people. And radio, I think of this as radio for your phone, let's face it, is such an intimate medium. I'm a lifelong radio enthusiast. And so many times I've had those driveway moments where you pull up to destination and you got 10 minutes to kill and you go, I've got to listen to the rest of this interview. So I love to think that we're providing that to people around the world. And even though people are not inclined to do a lot of feedback, how many surveys are you asked to fill out? If you buy a box of thumbtacks at Walmart, they go, hey, so how was your experience buying a box of thumbtacks at Walmart? Fill out this brief survey. I'm like, no, I'm not going to. So people get numb to being asked to provide feedback, but they keep coming back and they keep listening.
And if you're listening to this podcast, which I hope...
That's the only way they'd be hearing you. Okay. So yeah, go ahead.
Okay. Please know that 2 people can begin a meeting, no matter if you're in Rowena, South Dakota, where I grew up, town of about 60 people, where Franco grew up, where Sherman grew up. You can start a meeting. You can listen to the podcasts. You can listen to the Zoom, no matter where you are, if you have a cell phone. And, Franco, you've added so much to the club.
From rehab during pandemic, May 2020, a really special time. I was thinking about that. I watch old movies all the time, and there's certain stickers you see on windshields from old black and white movies, and they go, this was made during World War II. That A card means gasoline. And so I think that now I'm seeing pictures pop up on my Facebook of all of us in masks, like all of us in masks. I'm like, 2020. I remember when everybody wore a mask everywhere. And I also see stuff where I bragged on Facebook in late 2020 about, look at me, I'm in a restaurant. I'm out on the patio, but I'm ordering dinner at a restaurant. Remember, they were just gone.
Yeah, just a few years back.
It was just gone. So you went from that sort of isolated existence to being on the board of a recovery center and give me your resume on the...
No, actually, I'm the DCM for District 2, so that's in service. And it's, I live AA, I live recovery, and that's just been my life. And you know what? It's just been the best decisions I've ever made, and the support is just unreal. The fellowship and the unconditional love, it's a win-win situation for me, or it's been a win-win situation for me. And it just continues to get better.
So most of your recovery was virtual, and Mary, you're a bricks and mortar.
I'm a bricks and mortar. But I will tell you this, that the Zoom meeting saved my life. Yeah. Franco, one thing that that I know between you and I that we share is we were a little older when we came in.
Right.
To people listening, I came in when I was 50 years old. I think you have me beat.
I do. Actually, I came in when I was 63 years old. And so, it took a little time for me, but it's never too late.
What is up with your hair? I can't get over it. You came in at 63. Now you're the president of AA, and you've got hair like a young Vivian Lee. I'm resentful.
And no wrinkles.
I've got them.
He's led a clean and blameless life. That's how he got like this.
Well, I just mentioned that because when I met you, first of all, I was amazed at your age.
Mm-hmm.
And I also was amazed at the age you came in. And in meetings, you'll find people that are 16 years old or younger, up to 70 years old that come in because they know they can change the quality of their life.
So, Mary, on the bricks and mortar aspect of a recovery center like this, we're a community center where a lot of 12-step meetings take place in the rooms here. It's an old 1950s church in kind of a smallish town that's been repurposed to be a community center where different recovering fellowships can have meetings. We do other stuff, but that's the meat and taters.
That's it.
And so you were in a smaller building that was also called the Friendship Club.
Right.
How many people, went to meetings there in the smaller version? Back in the 90s, I'm guessing, right? Or early 2000s?
There were, a few meetings. The largest meeting probably had 50 people in the big room.
What sort of a building was it? Was it an old home? What was it?
It was a rental property.
Okay.
That we rented.
Okay.
And the executive director at the time, Pursoon, said, I think we should buy a building. And I'm going, are you crazy? And he said, no, this is my vision. I see it, but I need your help. And we needed the help of everybody. So the Friendship Club started, it started 7 people 45 years ago. And now it's grown to over 200 people coming in every day.
That's right.
And we just now have a 35-person men's meeting that comes in every Monday.
That's one of our 50 weekly meetings.
Yes,
yeah.
it's one of
And on weekends, typically in recovery, that's a big Saturday mornings and Sunday mornings are popular for meetings. And here we have 100 coming in for that. And that's in a way sort of the engine, or has been historically. But it's also, if we ran a store that sold fishing rods, we need to be on the internet, and we need to be addressing that and remembering that it doesn't stop at the 4 walls. And that's what Franco is about, and I'm about, and Mary's about.
Franco, can you say something in Spanish, since that's our fastest growing meetings in the recovery community?
I will tell you one thing about this. It's very, very diverse. The Friendship Club offers, groups in Spanish specifically. And, that just makes a lot of sense. And particularly in this geographical area, we've got, a complete diverse set of meetings in the building, which offers a very diverse community. So,
my Spanish must be improving. I understood every word you just said. It was like you weren't even talking a foreign language. We've got a group called Renacer that's taken up the second story. So maybe say that you got your own club up there.
We do have a group.
En español, por favor.
Well, yo no puedo hablar español bien, pero I don't speak Spanish that well.
Mary, you threw me. Okay. Oh, see, I'm embarrassed. I went to public school in Dallas. God help me, and so we had to take about 3-4 years of Spanish. So I can order lunch and find the shitter, and that's about my limit. That's where I hit the wall.
Well, I can guarantee that his mother spoke Spanish.
That's right.
Ah.
Yes, and I learned that she made the best tortillas in all of New Mexico.
Oh, all right. I need to know more about that.
At the memorial service for her.
I love Santa Fe is. What do you want to say about this little town? Somebody told me something I've never quite forgot. I moved here from Los Angeles. I'm your worst nightmare. I'm a Texan who moved here from Hollywood 11 years ago. And land of entrapment. I love this place, and I've got roots here now. But someone one old Hopi Indian gal said, "You moved here from Los Angeles." She goes, "Yeah, it takes you about 4 years to decompress from that." And I found that to be accurate and kind of strange and interesting. And another lady said that that Santa Fe is a bowl. It's got mountains on all four sides, and it sits down in this stone bowl. We're 7,200 feet up in the air, so Denver, we're a half a mile higher than Denver. You can't breathe here, and you can't sleep here because there's no oxygen. And we're in this stone bowl, and it's a focused thing. It's kind of, I'm not much of a lad for woo-woo Santa Fe mystical stuff, but it is a special pace that's different. It is spiritual, and I meet people regularly here that are, I had a great conversation with a 94-year-old Korean War vet who was talking about, I said, "Was it colder here when you were a kid?" And he said the snow was waist deep in the winters, with the climate change and stuff. This went from a real winter, hard place to survive to, it's pretty damn nice now. The weather's glorious. And people love coming here, but it's a destination retail. It's not on the way to anything. You have to come to Santa Fe, and once you're here, they call it the land of entrapment. It has a way of grabbing you. And I love the fact that this podcast is in, have I said it? 50 countries. Some of these countries, by the way, are very large. There aren't that many countries in the world. There are fewer than 200, and we're in 50 of them. Some of them are very large countries, like the U.S. and Canada and Russia. We're in 600 cities, but really we're in Santa Fe.
We're in Santa Fe. And that's what Santa Fe in northern New Mexico. I just have to say that because if you come to Santa Fe and go north, you'll find that the population is not as large as Santa Fe or Albuquerque. And our mission is to reach those areas, to reach the underserved communities, to bring the message of recovery through podcasts, Zoom, and most importantly,
the three biggest states in the United States are, in descending order, Alaska, Texas, California. That's the top three. What are 4 and 5?
Montana and New Mexico.
That is correct. And people don't know this. Montana's not very famous, and New Mexico's not very famous compared to California and Texas. And we're gigantic and pretty empty. There are probably suburbs in Los Angeles that have more people than New Mexico. That's right. We're all full. There's no room here.
No, we welcome everybody, and especially at the Friendship Club.
You welcome Texans and Angelinos?
I welcome anyone.
Okay.
We welcome anyone. We have the friendliest coffee bar in Santa Fe at the Friendship Club. We have the friendliest staff, the friendliest volunteers. Anyone listening that would like to talk to Sherman about becoming a volunteer, they go through a short process. And we're really rocking here. And recovery saved my life. Franco, how about you?
I have to tell you, recovery gave me a whole new life that's even undescribable. But, one thing that I want to mention about the club, too, when we get our visitors, because people, the Friendship Club is getting its name known. And
we've got a good website. You can check it out there, yeah.
Every visitor that comes into the club is just in awe at how nice this club is and just how clean it is and how friendly it is. And, you can't that's exactly what you need, particularly when you come in with such an issue, because you come in vulnerable and you're embraced with love when you walk in these doors.
And you're a big part of that, Franco.
I don't think we're going to top that. That's the episode. Thanks for coming in, y'all. Love you guys.
Thanks.